Welcome in, everybody, wherever you are, however you may be listening. This is your Wednesday wrap-up, and I'm here with the birthday boy. How's it going, Herb?
Man, it's a beautiful morning, sir. How are you doing? And thank you also, too, for the beautiful message last night for the birthday show.
Of course. I know you guys always have fun for the birthday shows. So what did you guys do on the show? I imagine there was some sort of shenanigans at some point.
It was the usual. Raj ran the show, which I see Raj is actually already
early. He's early. Look at that.
And then, we talked a little Alabama recruiting and basketball, and we still had a debate that looked like Raj almost won. Fell short, just short again, So my lead grows.
I like it.
But it was a fun time, man. It was a fun time.
All of a sudden, he just clocked out. He's like, nope, not watching this show.
I hate this guy.
So last week we talked about the Knicks, Knicks fans throwing garbage on a Pacers fan. You wore that shirt last night. See, you knew he was going to throw some shade at some point.
Wow.
Wasted no time.
Okay, but fans, I wore like 3 different shirts last night. I did wardrobe changes on air.
So the Knicks fans were throwing garbage at Pacers fan. And, so for those of you that didn't see last week's show, this was the clip. And, kind of a tasteless thing. This was just before the Pacers series started. And this almost feels just like instant karma for the Knicks. You have this kind of reaction, and then the Pacers come in and dispatch you quickly. Yes.
Feels like it could have been in 5 instead of 6. But sometimes you see the teams relax, I feel like, and they want to win it at home instead, so it goes to 6. But no, the instant karma was they instantly beat you 2 games at home to start the series, including one of the greatest comebacks of all time. That was like, yeah, we're going to shut this down very, very quickly. So, no, the Knicks, your fans, you kind of reap what you sow. And I know this, there's no direct correlation. Okay, well, there's your best chance to get to the finals that you're probably going to have in a long time. So, where do you think the karma came from?
Yeah, well, especially now because they fire Thibodeau.
Yep.
Right? Like all he's done is help them get further than they've ever been. And then apparently they decided he's not the guy. Yeah. And that is a little bit of a surprise. If you got a coach that's taking you further than you've been in 20 years, you would think maybe keep that guy around one more year.
Yeah. But I could see it just because there were certain things. So one of the things about Tom Thibodeau is he loves his guys. And if you're one of his guys, he's going to stick with you through thick and thin. He is the most loyal person. But what that also means is there will be no adjustments as the series go along. So it's kind of, I see it from management's perspective, but I also see it from the perspective of, was this also poor roster construction, to get past certain points or to have interchangeable parts. But at the heart of it is definitely the fact that they had a good article last night I was reading about the Thunder and how they were approaching things. Mm-hmm. And in January or February, they were talking about certain games, and their coach was actually just tinkering with different lineups during the regular season, trying to say, look, when this happens down the road, I need to be prepared. Versus Thibodeau, who's setting the record for most minutes played by his starters in the regular season. So I get it, but yeah, the timing and the optics look terrible.
Well, especially when you figure this was more of a matchup issue than anything. The Knicks don't have the speed to play with the Pacers or OKC. Right. Honestly, even if they got past the Pacers, they'd run into a very similar matchup issue had they faced OKC anyway. Yeah. I think the Pacers have a better shot against OKC than the Knicks would have. Yeah. And to your point, he doesn't use his depth particularly well either. So, those bench players didn't see tons of action when you compare them to some of the faster teams. So I think his style worked fine for 90% of the league. But the couple of teams that are young and fast, they just didn't have it. But, it's the Knicks, and they're going to Knicks it up.
Yes. Yes. Get further than you have been in years, and the coach is gone immediately. Now, what it means is you have to nail this next hire.
Yes.
Don't have a prolonged coaching search. You can't go on weeks. You already have to have somebody in mind to keep some stability. But back to my roster thing, do you think it's just, hey, this roster is exactly where we need? Because also remember, they had to have a couple of great comebacks in Boston just to get to this point. We probably shouldn't even be talking about this right now. So do you honestly feel like the roster is at the point where they should be in the finals right now, and it's strictly on the coach and not on the players? Because Cat had a lot of up and down games. Brunson, that for all his clutch abilities on the offensive end, it was a defensive nightmare. You take out, two bad defenders on the court at a time, it's not going to get you very far. So there's a lot of questions, I think, as well, man. And I hate it. I don't hate it for Knicks fans, but it does suck to kind of get this far, be reeling from, oh, man, we didn't make it to the finals. And now your coach is gone. You're just sitting around looking like, what's happened? Like, the shine is off of our great season already. Yeah. We don't even celebrating yet. So
yeah, you've been out for 2 days, and now you're like, oh, we need a coach. Uh-oh. And no, I mean, I don't think they were perfectly set up to win. Again, faster teams, they just didn't have the guys for it.
Yeah.
That being said, now adding the coaching element to it sure makes you feel like they are not going to be as good next year.
Right.
I mean, maybe they nail it and they hit the draft perfectly, and who knows, or trades perfectly. Sure, anything's possible. Except we've watched the Knicks for their last finals win was in the early 70s. So
yes.
It's been a couple years.
Yeah, just a couple of. The Dallas Cowboys are probably laughing at you. That's
right. I mean, their last finals appearance, I think, was in the 80s.
No, the OJ year they were in the finals.
Oh, okay.
So not yet. I would think that was it. Yeah. I was in Germany, and I used to have to wake up in the morning to watch Michael Jordan play. So that's how I know. When it was the Knicks versus Houston, I did not get up for a single game. So we heard about the OJ thing the next morning. That's how I know that was their last one. So.
I got you. Still, that's been a minute.
Yes. Yeah, cool. And I feel like there might have been one versus the Spurs in 99. Raj might correct me on that one. But yeah, it's been a minute. It hasn't been in the 2000s, I don't think.
Speaking of the finals, is anybody even going to watch this finals? Now, I mean, like for me, I'm going to, because this is what I do for a living, right? And so I can't not watch it. But these are not exactly large market teams, right? You're talking Indiana, you're talking OKC. Like, this is not what the NBA probably dialed up before the season when it comes to ratings. And you're looking at ratings that have continued to slide, right? The COVID year was the lowest rated one in forever, right? The next year there was a jump, and then it's continued to slide since then. I don't know that this is going to be a very well watched finals just because of the teams that are in it. I mean, the NBA, if they had their way, it would have been the Knicks in Boston.
Oh, definitely.
Like those groups, right? Like those fan bases, just because they're large market teams. Or maybe the Lakers, like any of these large market, or even if it would have been Golden State, just because they've been so good as of late that people would have tuned in for that.
Yeah.
Talking about Indiana and Oklahoma, you're just like, I mean, okay,
No pun intended.
Yeah, right.
So the last time OKC made the finals, you had Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and not yet stardom level James Harden, but you still had them.
Yeah.
That was, I got to watch these guys, But you look at now, and so Raj posed this question. Appreciate you, Big Mike. Thank you, sir. But Raj posed this question last night when you're talking about the next face of the league, especially when LeBron and Steph are on their way out, and even KD to an extent. It's like SGA just won MVP, right?
Yep.
He was the Western Conference MVP. He also most likely be Finals MVP if they win. Mm-hmm. He's like, is he a box office draw or the next face of the league? I said, he's a superstar in his own right. The portion of it that is missing to me is the put butts in the seat. If you told me OKC was coming to town tomorrow, I'm not in line to buy a ticket. If I happen to be off, let's be honest, I'm not even a huge LeBron guy, right? But if LeBron came to town, I'd be like, I'm going to buy a ticket to watch the Lakers. I'll watch LeBron in his end here,
Sure.
Steph, stuff like that. But SGA is a jump shooting, not high flying, just super efficient player, but not one that you're necessarily like, oh, I want to go out and watch 7 mid-range jumpers in a row. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not going to see that.
I mean,
Tyrese Halliburton is not a household name.
You did watch that though with Jordan, because that mid-range game
but that was more towards the middle. You also had the Air Jordan part of Air Jordan.
Well, for sure.
Too.
For sure.
So there was a lot of entertainment value built up before Jordan went to the mid-range. And the mid-range started to happen when people got a little more physical and he got a little less athletic. But you still saw glimpses of other things. Like Jordan was just way more iconic. I know you can't say Jordan and SGA kind of in the same breath. You are watching Jordan. SGA, you're just like, So no, I don't know that people are going to flock to this finals that aren't already NBA fans.
No, especially when you figure viewership had been dropping and you had teams like Boston in there, right? You had Golden State that nobody remembers won a couple of years ago. And, so I mean, now you're talking about 2 small market teams. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's going to have a whole lot of draw to it. Again, I'm going to watch it because I have to.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I would necessarily, if I was just a casual fan, be turning this on. As a Supersonic fan, I might have been turning it on just to root for the Pacers.
Right.
But
and I've seen a little of that already being posted and everything. So
for sure.
People with you. Yep.
Yeah. No. I mean, if you're here in the Seattle area, there's some real hate for OKC. And, that's because that was our team.
Yeah.
So, and the way that they took them was kind of shady. So you want nothing but the worst for them all the time.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you're SGA, you're getting hate from that? You're like, I wasn't even on the team when this happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 20 years.
Right? He's like, I had nothing to do with this, I swear. Like, we hate you. He's like, bro.
Right? He's like, I was 3.
I really don't think this is my fault, people. No, I hate you anyway.
Yeah. No, and it's wild to think that it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, here we are. Because I think they moved in like 2005, something like that.
Yeah, you're right. So, it feels like it was like yesterday to me. But then, like I said, I have to think back. Okay, well, Kevin Durant and them were in the finals with OKC, so yeah, it has to have already been a minute. So,
oh yeah, Jeez. No, exactly. And of course, every time I think about stuff like that, it's like back in my day, we had basketball in Seattle.
But you know what that tells you, man? Sports hate and sports grudges run deep. Like you never get over certain things.
Yeah, so. Well, I mean, when a city steals your team, right? Like that's where you're pretty mad about it. It makes you wonder cities like St. Louis, right? They steal a team and then the team gets taken away, right? The Rams.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see how that fan base is. Like, do they hate the Rams? Are they like, fair enough? Like, I mean,
I don't know. My niece had drama that she was talking about last night. This girl stole her boyfriend and then she stole him back. And now they're beefing. And I'm like, why don't y'all just hate on the boyfriend instead?
Right? I feel like there's different dudes.
Yeah.
Man. So, in other weirdness, in the NFL, we have OTAs kicking off, and these are the voluntary OTAs. But you got Stephon Diggs here partying up on a boat, and you're like, okay, fair enough, I guess. He's probably going to get a random drug test based on this little pink baggie that they decided to also film.
Yes.
But the biggest thing is you have Stephon Diggs. He's getting over an ACL, right?
Right.
And rather than going to OTAs to be with the team, start meeting the guys, learn the new playbook, because this is his third team in as many years.
Right.
He's out there partying on a boat with Cardi B. And it probably wouldn't have been so bad except the video comes out.
Right.
Right. And it's just like, why aren't you with your team? Like this kind of, I get, again, it's voluntary, but it's just bad optics. And then you have Vrabel's reaction to it.
It's something that we're aware of, and obviously we want to make great decisions on and off the field. And we're hoping that with our time here on the field today, and that when we don't have a script and we're on the call-up periods, that we're making great decisions. And so the message will be the same for all our players, that we're trying to make great decisions, and any conversations that I've had with Stephon will remain between him and I and the club.
Have you talked to him since the video?
I talk to our players every single day, the ones that are here and the ones that aren't.
So he seems super happy about it.
He did. He did. I was like, this is very cheerful, joyous. I'm sure he was happy to go through that line of questioning too. So could you tell that the PR guys had like coached him? Because Vrabel probably wanted to flip the whole podium or whatever and grab stuff and throw it in the middle of it. I was like, probably not the best response. Just here's what we think you should say, and let's get through this.
Yep.
Yeah. And Stephon Diggs clearly went to the John Morant school of social media, because I just don't understand who are the people around you that are filming this stuff and letting it get out. Yeah.
Just breaking out the fun. Yeah.
And we all know that's not the only party that this happened on during the summer or during the off season or whatever, but yours was the one that got filmed. Like, who are your friends that are around you that are doing this kind of stuff and putting you in these positions in the first place?
Well, and if you're going to have, any kind of illegal substance allegedly on the boat.
I love the allegedly, just to protect ourselves.
Hey, not trying to get sued this morning. Wouldn't you at least let someone else be handing it out? Yes. Like maybe you aren't the one with it in your hand. And again, it could be nothing. It's bath salts. Who knows? But
heard about them bath salts though.
Well, I mean, don't eat them, right? Those and Tide Pods, like stay away from that. No. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's crazy to me. And again, you're talking about a guy. He's later in his career. He's getting over an injury on his third team in 3 years. Like maybe show up to OTAs, or at a minimum, make people check their phones, right? Mm-hmm. Like be like, hey, let's not do dumb stuff and hurt my career. It sounds like in some of the New England circles, there's been talk of there's a chance he doesn't actually stay on this team.
Yeah.
And that would be pretty wild.
It would be, especially over this. But you have a new coach, right? A very well-respected coach. You've got a young quarterback you're just trying to get some help for and bring him along, and you think this is your guy. and you were trying to give him some wide receiver help. But if it's going to be the wrong influence or the wrong person, then yeah, there's no sense even keeping him around the team. And if you're going to make Vrabel this mad and we ain't even got to the season yet, like Diggs does not seem like the kind of person where it gets better. You know, it's like wherever you are, things are going to get worse from there. So
Yeah, I mean,
especially at this stage of his career.
Well, and you've seen it through his whole career.
Exactly.
Right? Like everywhere he's been, he's flamed out hard.
Yeah.
And, I guess you can't include the Texans because he didn't play long enough.
Right.
But, can't complain about not getting the ball if you're on the sideline.
Right.
But
they also thought enough of him to go ahead and void all the extra years on his contract and say, we're doing this for 1 year no matter what happens.
yes.
So they were protecting themselves from the very beginning from it. So,
Oh, yeah.
No, I could see it. But Diggs also strikes me as the guy that even when he's lost a step, doesn't think. You know how you have those certain receivers, certain players that think they're still just as good later years as they were in their prime. That's what Diggs strikes me as. The guy like, I was open. I mean, you weren't.
Right.
This guy. I mean, you didn't. But you know what I mean? Like he
It was
seems
in
like
your pocket.
Right. So yeah, if they had to cut bait early, I could see it. Vrabel's got to put his mark on this team. And, like you said, with Drake May, you got to protect May at all costs here. So,
Well, and I mean, like you said, it's Vrabel. So he's a no nonsense kind of guy. Like he wants you to go out and play hard and be that dude. If you bring a lot of noise, if there was ever a coach that's going to move on from you, it's him. It's Campbell, right? Like those are the guys that are like, look, if you're in here and you're part of our culture, you're part of our room, and you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're our guy.
Yeah.
If you aren't, you aren't.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Vrabel is that guy that, you could kind of see at the end of the Titans run, whoever is on the field with me, I'm rolling with. And I will get the most out of whatever crap is left over that you call a team and you give to me. I will make it work. So do I need Diggs? Yeah, it'd be great to have that talent. But, if Herb Ragsdale with the bum knee gets on the field, I'm going to get the best out of Herb. Whatever route he can still run is the route he'll run. So, it just, Vrabel seems like that guy who's not like, I don't have to put up with this. My teams will win regardless. So,
well, and I mean, there's still guys out there that you could go get. I mean, Amari is still sitting out there. Gabe Davis is still sitting out there.
Yep.
Both guys that you can get for nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly Amari.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want? I think that's where the rumblings of Diggs may not stay on this team is because guys like that are still out there.
Yeah.
And do I think that Amari is the talent level of Diggs? No. But is he a great possession receiver that catches everything that's thrown his way? Absolutely.
Right.
So,
and he's not going to make any waves and will be very quarterback friendly. Yeah. And also for New England, you're not on a trajectory where you're like, hey, we got to win the Super Bowl next year. No. You still got a couple years of maybe non-competing, where you're just trying to get better. So it's not the worst thing in the world to have like a not so great year. And so where you're like, okay, I don't have to get a premium wide receiver in here yet. If that's not where we're at, we'll just continue to build. And we still got a year or two, Buffalo's decline will come in a couple of years and you don't really believe in the rest of the division. So I can see in a couple of years, you guys are right there competing for it. So you don't need a premium.
And it's not like even if Diggs was balling out, he's going to be there in a couple of years anyway, right? He's 32, 31, 32, something like that,
32,
right?
But also with an ACL injury, like you said, that's a lot to overcome in these later years. So
I love that 30, you're just an old guy. They're like, send him out to pasture.
Yes. The sports world makes you feel a lot older,
Yep. Just get me the tennis balls for my walker.
Yeah, he's going to have to retire next year. He's already 36. What? 36? How's he even still walking? Like, bro, what? Oh, now I just feel old this morning. Yeah,
well, I mean, I feel that. Climbing out of bed, you're like, was that a new pop?
No. Wait, I have to flex my knee. No, same old pop. I'm good. No doctor today.
That's actually what you get for your birthday every year now.
Yes.
It's just a new pop. You're like,
yes.
oh, Okay.
And then we're guys, so we just learn to navigate it. Okay, so if I walk like this, okay, hurts a little less. Good.
That's where you're like, can the other one hurt? And it'll just offset the limp. I can walk normal again.
Yes. Oh, Lord.
And of course, we got the quarterback ridiculous room in in the Browns. So obviously they're going to have to make some decisions when it comes to this quarterback room. I really wish this was going to be just a quarterback hard knocks, right? They got 5 quarterbacks there. They have Deshaun, who is a non-factor, right? He's going to be
an injury reserve for the whole year.
Yeah. He's an IR case for sure. And then, obviously you have Flacco. You traded for Pickett, right? I think they gave up a third for Pickett. You draft Dillon Gabriel with a third. And then you also bring in Shedeur, 5th round pick, but most people saw him as a 1st or 2nd round talent. Right. So you got a bunch of dudes that you want on there. I can't imagine that you move on from Flacco because you need that veteran in the room if you're going to keep a couple of rookies. Pickett, he's been around the league for a couple of years, but he's still kind of a rookie in my mind, right? And so it's going to be a really interesting quarterback room. So I don't know. Like I really wish they were going to be filming this because one of those guys is not making the team.
Right.
You're not going to carry 4 quarterbacks as you come in. And, Deshaun is a non-factor since he's on IR, right? So with those 3 guys, who do you move on from? Like, in a way, it seems like it has to be Pickett.
Right.
Because you need that adult in the room in Flacco. You need, you drafted 2 quarterbacks. You probably want to see them battle it out to see who can get it.
Right.
And if you were to move off of, like, Shedeur now, you drafted him in the 5th. At best, you're probably getting a 7th for him right now, right? If they both make the roster and you move on from one, then maybe you can upgrade him to like a 3rd or something like that. But as it sits today, whoever you lose out of this deal, you're losing probably a 3rd round pick.
Right. It almost seems like if you didn't want to lose any of that kind of stuff, you're having to do Flacco. But like you said, I can't see them going into the season starting any of the other group. Which also is an interesting question. Did Deshaun Watson even do like rehab or anything? Or is he just like, I got my money, got my new apartment, my girl, we're traveling. I just don't care about the rest of this situation anyway. Like, does he even check in with the team?
Yeah, well, I mean, right? Probably not. Especially because it's Deshaun. He's just like, yeah, I'm busy. Like, I don't know.
I got things to do.
I mean, it was him doing dumb stuff that set him back anyway, right? But they couldn't prove it, so they still owe him the money. But yeah, I mean, a setback on it, and I don't know. Yeah. Deshaun's such a weird.
It's a terrible part of it. But I didn't want to get off the bait. But sorry, I was thinking of that as we were talking about it. But with the rest of it, yeah, this is one of the stranger. What have I always said? I feel bad for Dillon Gabriel. Use a 3rd round pick on a guy. Yeah. You think that this is the guy we're trying to groom, but what are you grooming him with? The ideal part there would have been, what's up, man?
Let's go in. And
keep Flacco, Pickett.
Let me jump in real quick. For our radio audience, we got to part ways with you. You have some smooth jazz coming up next, or you can watch the second half of the show on Roku or on my YouTube channel at Football-Talk, where we are going to get a little bit further into a couple of videos from the Browns and Flacco talking about this situation. Other than that, we'll see you next week. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, and I knew it was coming up. No, it's just like your ideal room would have just been ideal room, by the way. Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, and just roll with that. Rookie doesn't have to play year 1. He's a 3rd round pick. He's probably not as ready as you would like. Pickett, you took a flyer on him. Let's just see what you got. And then, Flacco is Flacco. I'm surprised
in that scenario, though, where are you trying to move Shedeur?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That would have been my ideal. Now that you added Shedeur, now you're like, you don't really want to. The optics on that and all the press that would come with it. Do you really want that as Browns? It's like you said, I think Pickett is gone, but do I think Flacco's lasting the entire year? No. So you're thrusting Gabriel in earlier than he needs to be?
Probably.
Or you're going to bypass him for Shedeur just because of what people might say? Like, it is a truly Browns situation at quarterback.
That's the thing, right? And because I was going to say, even if you move on from Flacco, Pickett your guy? Because it's not like we've seen anything out of him that you're excited about.
Yeah, the third string guy for the Eagles looked better than Pickett when they were out there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's I don't know. It's pretty crazy. They did talk to Flacco about being a mentor in the quarterback room, and this was his response. I actually liked this response. He said something similar to Aaron Rodgers, but in a much more thoughtful way, and made him sound less like a douche. So, so here's that clip.
Point you can kind of like use it like because it's a good question to bait somebody into answering, and no matter how they answer it, it kind of makes the guy that's answering it look bad. If I say I don't want to be a mentor, I look bad. If I say I do want to be a mentor, then I look like an idiot that doesn't care about being good and playing football. So it's one of those questions that no matter what I say, you guys can write what you want to write about it. And there's a lot of questions like that. That's why you end up having to try to avoid them. I tend to try to be honest. And I've said I'm not a mentor. I play football. And in a quarterback room, there's a lot of times there's been a ton of times where there's learning experiences, and I have a lot of experience, and I can talk on things, and hopefully they listen. But it's not necessarily like my job to like make sure they listen to me. And hey, like hopefully you have a really good relationship with the guys that are in the room, and you naturally want to do that, But that was a long-winded answer, but that's ultimately why I think you guys ask it,
Joe, you said you don't watch the draft. So when you found out that the Browns drafted 2 quarterbacks, did you have any kind of reaction to that?
I think you always have a little bit of reaction, going back to being honest. Yeah, I mean, my wife was like, oh, they just drafted another guy. My wife is on top of it,
So I like that response because he's like, look, I will give my knowledge, but it's not my job to make them accept that knowledge. And so I like that answer as opposed to when you think of it on Aaron Rodgers' end, which was, I'm just not going to help you.
Right. Right.
Like this is what I would do. This is what I've seen. What you do with that information is up to you.
Right.
So I liked that.
Yeah. No, I get where he's coming from more when you watch the full clip, Yep. He's saying I'm not a mentor in the thing of, like you said, I'm not going to sit by you. I'm not going to come in and ask you, hey, did you get that? And quarterback's one of those positions like, as a wide receiver, I can mentor you, right? And we can both still be on the field at the same time. And yes, when you're talking about that, running back, hey, we might be splitting carries where I can do that. But quarterback, like this is my position. And I'm still out here competing and trying to play. So the more I mentor you, the more I do kind of work myself out of a job, Exactly. But like you said, in his position, first off, he's not like a Browns quarterback for life. This isn't like I care about this organization. I'm like, hey, I'm here for this year and probably it. I won my Super Bowl with the Ravens. So, I'm not beholden to you guys for anything. But he did say, look, I share my knowledge. I tell them about situations. What they do with it is on them. I'm fine with that, man. The other guys got to take responsibility. So, and I'm sure they're fine with that as well. It's not like you said he's sitting in the corner like, Flacco, what do you think about it? He's like, I don't think anything. I don't think that's what you're getting. So
he's like, I think you're going to throw a pick right there. Actually, he might say that just because it'd be funny. But yeah, no, these guys aren't under any obligation to help you take their job. So, and it is on the rookies. It's on their plate to come in and ask the questions and take the notes and do all of that. Like it's not on the veteran to make sure you get better.
Yeah.
Like you got to want to do that because there's a funny thing about a draft class. There's another one right behind you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the NFL is all about how long can you keep your job, because you're going to lose it.
Yes.
So, and if you want to keep it, you got to be learning all the time. And that's on you as a player, right? Like you can ask the questions of other players and coaches and whatever, but you have to do something with that knowledge. Yep. So again, I liked the way he answered that, just because unlike Rodgers and, a couple of the other guys in the league that have been similar to that mindset of, I'm just not going to help you. It was, I don't know. It was just a much more thoughtful way to say, I'm not a mentor. Like, I'm not going out of my way to help them steal my job, but I'm also not going to gatekeep knowledge.
Right. Right. If they need something from me, I'm here for them. What they do with it after that, that's 1,000% on them. I like how diplomatic he was at the end. My wife was like, they drafted 2 quarterbacks. I can't imagine that was the full conversation. But it also kind of goes to the mentorship. If you draft 2 more guys at my position, now am I supposed to mentor both of these guys and bring them along? No, that's on you. That's on the organization. That's on those players. Like, it's still my job.
Especially when you think of, they also brought Pickett in.
Yeah.
Who's another dude that is going to need mentorship, right? Like he didn't exactly have crazy success with the Steelers, didn't have crazy, he didn't do anything with the Eagles. Collected a ring though. Hey.
Yeah. He is a Super Bowl champion.
I mean, this Browns team should be awesome. They got 2 Super Bowl champs in the quarterback room.
Oh my goodness. It's like I want to follow the Browns. I just feel bad for Browns fans at this point. And now you got Myles Garrett over there making $40 million a year. And and that was your biggest drama of the offseason. And then Shedeur comes to town. So good luck with everything.
I mean, the Garrett thing was hilarious though, because he's just like, I don't want to play here. I want to win. And they're like, what about 40 million? He's like, I love the Browns.
I love the Browns. I never wanted to leave the city. Like, I've loved this place. Where I want to end my career. Well, guess what? It will end there because
no doubt.
Yes. And you will buy whatever you want while you're in Cleveland.
And of course, co-host of The Herd, Jason McIntyre, is really going in on Deion about the slide of Shedeur. And so this was part of his monologue on it.
And Deion is already complaining about his son and what went down at the draft. This, my friends, is why Shedeur Sanders fell in the draft. Front offices were just like, no thank you on Shedeur Sanders precisely because of this. Hey, Deion, Shedeur's now 23 years old. I'm not telling a grown man what to do, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, Deion. Next time you were asked about it, hey, man, I wish my son the best. I will be rooting for him hard. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. Go Browns. Just stop. All you're doing is hurting.
I'm not mad at that take, really.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, at the end of the day, you got to be focused on your team, right? I mean, nobody's talking about Colorado at this point. Travis Hunter's in the league. Shedeur on a roster. At some point, right, you just got to let your kid do the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that I think he probably did play a factor, right? Like I think with the amount of media that has followed Shedeur, and a lot of that was by design, right? Like they were building their brand, and all of that is great. Like, helps get you paid, awesome. The problem is you end up in that Cam Newton situation where this is where I think the slide really came in. Is we kind of all thought that he was he might go in the first round, but he's a second round talent kind of guy. For him to fall to the 5th seemed crazy until you think of it as, he's got that Cam Newton media buzz around him. And if teams were looking at him as a backup, you don't want that kind of noise with a backup, right? Like, you don't want every time your first guy throws an interception or something like that, you have everybody clamoring for your backup to get in. So I get that teams kind of looked past Shedeur when it came to, let's just not have distractions on our team, Not that he by himself is a distraction per se, but the media buzz around him becomes one.
Yeah.
And obviously Deion feeds into that. So I would imagine most people are going to barbecue McIntyre for this take, right? Because the Shedeur fans don't care about logic in any way.
Right.
They're just like, the Sanders family is our guys. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, they can be your guys and still have elements that are a problem. Right. So, yeah, I don't know. I agree with the take a little bit.
Yeah. I see exactly where he's coming from. It's these are very prideful front offices, prideful coaches, right? The last thing you want is, like you said, they go through a game. Flacco has a bad game. Let's say there's no Gabriel, there's no Pickett. It's Flacco, then it's Sanders in an ideal world, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you got Deion Sanders in an interview on a Tuesday morning calling out your staff. Why didn't Shedeur get in there? Where they're like, who wants to go from there? And it's not like it's, my son out there and like, nobody knows who this Herd Ragsdale guy is. This is a well-respected NFL, legend who also happens to be a coach now, who I can't just necessarily fire back on because the guy's got credentials. Yep. So it's like, I have to listen to this all week. And for people, any Sanders, any Shedeur, defenders, think about how often when you guys were watching him in the draft, you thought, ooh, I wonder if the Giants get him, would they also hire Sanders as coach? There were little rumblings about, if Dallas gets him as a backup, would Shedeur be the next coach? Like, would Deion be the next coach, right? Yep. If you utter takes like that, that is the same exact thing that some of these people are thinking. If I get in here and Shedeur is in here and the whole, I hate to call it a circus, but that's just, that's the attention that Deion gets at this point. A lot of those front offices said, I don't want to be second guessed on my backup quarterback.
Right.
For the, imagine if you're Dable and you've got enough to worry about already, and you already had two quarterbacks, so you weren't going to play Shedeur that first year. Imagine having to listen to that for a whole year and be second guessed every step of the way.
Yeah.
Nobody,
for every
I get
game,
where he's coming from.
Well, yeah. And every game you don't play him, then you have elements of your fan base that are like, fire the GM, fire the coach because Shedeur's not getting in. It's like, no, he's not ready. Like, let's pump the brakes. It's okay for guys to sit. Yes. I don't know where this mentality of if you don't start day one, everybody should get fired. There's a lot of guys that benefit from sitting. In fact, most guys benefit from sitting. Yeah. So
Patrick Mahomes did not play day one. Did everyone forget this?
They do.
That, both of your last Super Bowl quarterbacks that were in the Super Bowl, neither one of them were the starters on day one. So, I don't know. I guess we're just throwing that out the window.
Yeah. It's a big ass fly.
I thought you were actually throwing something out the window. He's like, whoop.
It buzzed the tower.
Okay.
I was like, oh. I mean, I don't know. I find it wild that people get so up on a guy that hasn't done anything in the league. Let's calm down. It's okay to sit. In fact, a lot of guys need to sit. I would bet that every quarterback in this year's draft would benefit from sitting a year.
Agreed.
Right? Because, I mean, coming into this draft, I thought even Cam Ward a year ago would be a second-round dude.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have guys that are potentially going in the first round that are really second-round guys because it's a thinner quarterback draft, you're trying to tell me they can't benefit from sitting and learning. But when it comes to Shedeur, you're not going to get that latitude because every time the guy in front of him has any kind of hiccup, it's going to be put him in. And that's why I compare him to Cam Newton in that way, because it was exactly the same, right? Anywhere he went, he wasn't the starter after he was with the Panthers. Soon as anybody in front of him had any kind of misstep, they're like, put Cam in. It's like, he's not your best option.
Right. No. And there's a reason why he's starting on the bench to start with, but you're remembering. In Cam's case, it was at least remembering, okay, this guy was a superstar at one point. So there was something, Shedeur, I don't want to bag on the guy. Like he's had enough going on, but we're not talking about a guy who won a championship in college, or made the playoffs, or even had to. He was good
or won a
at
ball game.
Colorado. Yeah, we're throwing all that out the window, but then saying like the whole hype machine. Like, look, man, you got drafted. You're going to have your shot. I think he'll catch on somewhere in the league regardless. And I don't wish him bad. I just wish the hype wasn't as big for him,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, yeah, because basically if he's anything other than excellent, he's not going to live up to the hype.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons why I hate going to watch a movie that has like a crazy hype train coming up to it.
Yeah.
Because no matter how good it is, it's going to be disappointing.
Yep.
Because in your mind, you're like, oh, yeah, they keep saying it's the best effects and all of this. And then you watch it and you're like, yeah, I mean,
it's okay.
It's all right.
Yeah. I avoid those movies. I try to avoid trailers and just go with no expectations because I just want to be entertained by what's in front of me. I don't want to read or see all the extra stuff. Problem with Shedeur is you can't ignore all that. The trailers are all out. The hype is all there. You've heard about the special effects and the, Deion has look, he's being a father. I get it. And he's being Deion. Nothing that he's saying is not him being Deion. But at this point, you're not doing it's not helping. That's basically what it is.
I mean, this is going to sound messed up, but I could see this being the, Star Wars Episode 1, best effects, everything coming out, and then it's Jar Jar Binks, and you're like, oh, wait, what? Like, you're just like, oh, I'm so disappointed.
Yes.
And why is he Jamaican?
Yes. And I was one of the people standing in line for that one. And I came out and I was like, what just happened? I waited how long for this?
Yeah, and I went to a midnight showing of that.
Yeah, rough times.
Now, I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I mean, the opportunity's there where you're just like, man, unless he just comes out and kills it, and if you're forcing him out there early, there's a good chance that doesn't work out.
Yeah. I mean, Shedeur, he's a 5th round guy at this point. There's just no reason why he should start year one. You got a lot of 1st round guys that don't, But every time we say that, like the Jaden Daniels comes along and, does excellent, everyone's like, see? I'm like, come on, man. A lot of things had to come together for that one too as well. And that team wasn't as bad a situation as a lot of other teams either. They made some great personnel moves and heck, you were in the NFC finals, conference finals or whatever. So no, that's not, for everyone like that. Look, Drake May didn't start the very first game and, he had flashes, but look at his team for the rest of it, right? I think the draft class from the year before. So there's several more situations where the guy didn't need to start versus that one that everyone will latch on to. So
well, and to your point, like some of these teams are just in a better shape, right? So like when Russell Wilson came to Seattle, did he ball out? Sure. But he won a Super Bowl year 2 because the defense was all world. Right. I mean, so it's not, then you look at other guys that are drafted to teams like Tennessee, where you're just like, you could be the best football player to ever walk the earth. You're not winning with that roster.
No.
So, I mean, it's just, Jaden Daniels, that well-constructed team, right? A coach that had been in multiple Super Bowls. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't think that the Browns is necessarily going to be a great fit for Shedeur in general anyway, but he's there. And so now he has to maximize that opportunity. And I mean, I think he can, right? He's got some work though, because that quarterback room is crazy.
Yeah. Because he's one of the group that's taking the 2nd string reps, right? But you're taking 2nd string reps with somebody else. So it's like, you're not even getting all of those. So no, that's just, I don't know how you're supposed to develop.
As it sits right now, what I saw on the depth chart is he is QB4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's just because he was the lowest draft pick of everybody. Maybe alphabetical. I don't know.
I mean, it's the Browns. I could totally see that being the reason, or the reason they would give him. Sorry, Shedeur, it's not that you're fourth. It's just, alphabetical order.
Right? Your name starts with S. It's below everybody else.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. We'll see. Again, I hope they're doing a good job filming this because, man.
It is a mess.
It is that. It is that. Around the rest of the league, the Eagles lose their center. That is a huge hit. Sorry, not the Eagles. The Lions. The Lions lost their center.
Yep. Ragsdale.
So I fully expect them to take a step back. Not only is interior offensive line hard to acquire anyway. We know how that is here in Seattle all too well. But also losing your offensive and defensive coordinators all in the same offseason. Somehow they're only not favored in 5 games. But I have to imagine as the year starts, that number is going to increase. I think they're in for a dogfight a lot of this year. Now they get some of their defensive pieces back that were hurt, and they do bring back most of their offense. But losing your center and a key piece of the offensive line, man, that's going to be tough to overcome.
Yeah. Well, first, it's already, even if you brought back every single person, replicating the year that they had last year is already tough enough. But like you said, with the coordinators, and look, Alabama fans, we went through this for a whole stretch of years. You have to expect a drop off just with that part alone. You have that continuity, you have certain things, there's certain things he never had to worry about as the head coach. All right, this is being handled, that's being handled. Now, with your new guys coming in, you have to kind of pay a little bit more attention to this detail, that detail, and maybe you lose the overall picture. Yeah. They're 2 great running backs they've got back there. They were built on having a great line. You lose any part of that, you lose that continuity. That's tough. They have to take a step back. Now you didn't get where you wanted to last year, so taking a step back in the regular season might not be the worst thing. But yeah, it'd be way too hard to replicate the year they had last year anyway. So hopefully for you though, the rest of the division will take a step back too as well, or maybe Green Bay won't step up as much and you'll still be fine. But it's going to be tough. Yeah, I saw the Huff one, but I didn't get the draft grades yet for it. I didn't read that article. I don't know if Bo was praying or he left me.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I froze up right there. I imagine you're talking about Shedeur right here.
Yeah.
And I mean, if he's QB3, I could see this. I could see him trying to create some pressure. The thing that's funny, though, is although there's still a lot of outside noise, he's done everything he's supposed to do since he got to Cleveland.
Yep.
Right? Like he's stayed relatively quiet. Obviously he talks when the cameras go and find him, right? But he's not going out of his way to do media circus stuff. He's kind of distanced himself from his dad a little bit in some of his press conferences, the way he's talked. So, I mean, like he's done what he's supposed to do. He's there at camp. He's trying to learn. So I can't hate on him for, trying to make the team. So if there's trade talk, I would bet that it comes from the outside more, maybe not necessarily more, but sooner than if he were to try and start that. Right. Because again, he hasn't done anything in the league yet. So it's not like you have any leverage. You're a 5th round pick. You've done nothing in the league. I don't know how much you can really be like, trade me. But if he's QB3, he's not getting a shot. You can bet there'll be noise from the outside saying, hey, you should trade him to a team that can use him.
Right. But it's kind of what you said earlier. If you're one of those other teams and everybody passed on him, what are you giving up to get a Shedeur at this point? Right.
Yeah.
Like if I give up something, it has to be a 7th, right? It can't be more than a 5th, to get a guy that I could have just picked up. So yeah, I ship off a 7th round pick and get Shedeur. But again, it's kind of like what we all said. If we trade for him, are we trading to get a QB3 on our team? Am I giving up a 7th to get a QB2? Like, what situation is that? And then if I'm the starter of whatever team gets Shedeur and he's my backup, like, I don't want that either, because that, like you know, that's just too much going on. Every time I throw a pick, I see Deion Sanders. You know, like, I just don't want. I don't want that. So it's a weird situation. But to your point, man, you haven't heard until this Deion thing just now. I haven't heard a single peep out of Shedeur in that camp. From all accounts, he's just out there to play and earn his spot. And you know,
and that's what you want from him, right? Like, it's like, okay, you built your brand, you had the media circus and all of that, but now that you're in camp, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and so that's great. You know, and that's another reason why I'm like, man, I'd love to see more video from you know, from this camp, because I mean, someone doesn't make the team. So I don't know. I think it'd be fun to watch to see who ultimately doesn't get a stay. Because when you look at some of the numbers, Kenny Pickett is the one that looks like, you know, statistically would be the one that's out.
Right.
You know, because Flacco, he had a decent day, as I recall. Pickett, I think, was the one that threw a pick. And then Gabriel didn't get a ton of reps. Shedeur didn't get a ton of reps. But yeah, I don't know. It would be fun to watch that. Unfortunately, I don't think we're really going to get to see it too much.
Probably not. We'll hear reports about it, and everyone will give their own spin on it. But yeah, I think you have to have Flacco going into the year. I think he's got to be your starter, the most poised out of anybody, can handle the situations the best. Yeah. But yeah, you can't keep all 4 of these guys. What you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing them a disservice. So,
well, I mean, you can't anyway, right? Like, you can't carry 4. You need other positions of need on your roster, because if you're carrying 4 quarterbacks, you know, obviously, again, not including Deshaun because he's on IR, but what position are you giving up depth on?
Right. True.
Because most teams carry 2, and then they have their emergency quarterback that may or may not be on their practice squad, whatever. Shedeur certainly wouldn't be passing waivers to get onto a practice squad. So, I mean, you'd have to actually carry him. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, what position group are you losing a guy or two if you were to bring 4 guys into the season? Yeah, none of that really makes sense. Can't rule it out because it's the Browns, but
I mean, you know, we're going to carry 1 less wide receiver and 1 less lineman and carry 4 quarterbacks. That's what they're going to do. I
mean, anything's possible.
They're there with Shedeur and Gabriel. Which one of you guys runs better routes?
Man, if you have either one of those dudes running routes, you're in for a long season.
Yes.
Because although Shedeur is athletic, he's not that kind of athletic.
Yeah.
That being said, that does get us to the top of the hour. If you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Otherwise, we will see you all next week. Take it easy, everybody.